Imagine waking up one day to find yourself inside a strange room. You remember nothing, not how you got here, nor who brought you. You look around, confused, and find no clear exit. The biggest problem is that the room is full of puzzles. Puzzles you must solve if you want to stay alive. You quickly discover you're not alone. There are other people, but they're not normal. They're terrifying. You go through events that defy explanation, things beyond logic. You try with all your might to escape this creepy place, but there's only one rule to survive. You must pass through all the stages, or else death awaits. That was just a small preview of today's story. And before we begin, don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe. Most of this channel's viewers aren't subscribed, and that really saddens me. All right, let's get into the video. Our story begins with our main character, Sean. We learn that he is a doctor and scientist working on animal-related experiments. On one of his usual days, he was conducting an experiment on a chicken, and he broke its neck. We see the chicken in pain, moving in chaotic, painful spasms. The girl standing next to Sean panics, and so does everyone else in the room. Sadness and shock were clear on everyone's face, except for Sean. Sean looked at the chicken with a cold stare and said, emotionless, "This is just an experiment. What's the problem in breaking a chicken's neck so it dies? It's not a human." It was as if Sean was trying to deliver a shocking message. Any living being that isn't human can be harmed or killed without any feelings. Everyone stared at him in disbelief and fear. They realized something horrifying. This man had no emotions. Everyone moved on to eat, and Sean drank a lot of alcohol until he got drunk. He tried to stay conscious, but he couldn't. He passed out. And when he woke up, the shock came. He opened his eyes and found himself inside that strange room we talked about at the beginning of the story. He looked around, confused, wondering, how did I get here? What is this place? He remembered nothing since he was drunk. He searched for his phone, but it wasn't there. He began to assume maybe someone kidnapped him, or maybe it's a prank by his friends. He looked ahead and saw two doors. He tried to open the first one, but no use. Then he tried the second, but it also refused to open. He began questioning and wondering what was going on, but suddenly he noticed a piece of paper placed beside one of the doors. He picked it up, and suddenly, shock. The paper contained an extremely terrifying image. Sean started searching for something that might help him escape, like a key to get him out of there. But after his search, he found nothing. Still, he didn't give up. He kept looking, hoping to find anything useful in the room. Then he found a strange box and asked himself, what kind of weird things are in this strange place? Suddenly, he heard a noise behind him, something hitting the ground. He slowly turned around and saw that the sound came from a small hole in the floor. He looked up and noticed a picture frame on the wall falling to the ground. He hesitated to pick it up, afraid it might be as scary as the first image. But it turned out to be a normal photo, yet it showed something inside his room. In that moment, he realized, this photo holds the key to escaping. He approached the hole in the floor, slowly opened the cover, and suddenly he heard a loud scream, and a terrifying-looking person appeared, screaming at the top of their lungs. Sean panicked, quickly closed the cover, and backed away, shouting, "What is that thing? Is it a ghost or a zombie?" Then he heard a piece of metal fall beside him. He picked it up and discovered it was a key. Now he had two doors in front of him. One of them could be opened with this key, but he didn't know which one. He cautiously approached the first door, opened it slowly, only to find another room inside. But the real shock, there was a girl hanging upside down from her feet in the center of the room, and she screamed at Sean, "What do you want from me?" He tried to calm her down. "I don't understand what you're talking about." But she got angry and didn't believe him. She thought he was the one running this place. He swore to her that he knew nothing, that he just woke up and found himself here. The girl started to believe him and said, "That's exactly what happened to me. I woke up and found myself hanging like this." She apologized for yelling, explaining that she was under a lot of stress, especially since someone had been pulling her hair violently. Sean looked at her hair and realized it was tied to the floor. He deduced that the door he had tried to open was connected to her hair, and every time he tried opening it, it pulled her hair, causing her to scream in pain. So, it wasn't a ghost, as he had thought. He apologized and said, "I didn't know you were hanging there." She asked him to help her and told him to describe the room she was in. Sean looked at the room, observed everything carefully, and began describing it to her. Then he saw a phrase written on the wall, "Do not release her." He was confused and told her, "There's a phrase here that says I shouldn't free you." He added, "I have scissors. I could cut the rope easily, but..." The girl was shocked and pleaded, "Forget what's written there, just free me, quickly." But Sean, with his cold, scientific logic, began to think, what if the warning is real? What if freeing her will cause a disaster? At that moment, he noticed something else, a countdown timer. Only 14 minutes remaining. The girl started screaming. The tension in her voice rose as she said, "Please do something. Time is running out. I'll die if you don't hurry." Sean stood there, hesitant. His heart wanted to help her, but his mind refused to take the risk. He grabbed the scissors, then noticed they were attached to something. The moment he pulled the scissors, a large piece of metal fell from the ceiling. Suddenly, a loud, piercing scream shattered the silence. The girl started choking. Sean realized the warning had been real. Even so, he didn't back down. He grabbed the scissors and cut the rope. The girl fell to the ground. He rushed to her side to check if she was still alive. She was breathing, though with difficulty, but she survived. Afterward, she told him her name, Mira. Sean told her his name as well. Then suddenly, while they were talking, Sean noticed a new picture. It showed a closet that looked exactly like the one in front of them. But Sean hesitated to open it. His heart was pounding with fear. Maybe another terrifying person was inside. Mira, also afraid, told him that he should open it. Sean, holding the scissors in his hand, approached the closet cautiously. He slowly opened it and found nothing, only a question mark drawn inside. Suddenly, Sean heard a noise behind him. He turned quickly and was shocked. He saw someone standing inside another closet in the next room, staring at him silently. Sean called out, trying to lure the person out, but he just stood there, motionless. Sean stepped closer and slowly opened the closet. Suddenly, he saw something that shocked him and jumped back in fear. What he saw inside was a terrifying head, but it turned out to be just a statue, shaped like a human head. He opened the closet again and found strange things. Animal heads arranged randomly, as if part of some creepy ritual in an abandoned place. And on one of the shelves, a word was written, "Remember." On the right door of the closet was a drawing of an arrow, and on the left door there were numbers. Sean looked at the numbers and began analyzing. Suddenly, he understood everything. The numbers were a secret code for the door with the electronic lock. There were also black smudges on 4 numbers, 1, 3, 7, and 0. These marked the digits he needed to use. Here, Sean's real intelligence showed. He realized he had to arrange these numbers correctly to get the secret code. All right, math lovers, this question is for you. Pause the video and answer in the comments. How many possible combinations can be made by arranging these 4 numbers? Now let's continue with Sean, who clearly seems smart enough to solve the puzzle easily. The 4 numbers would give him 24 possible combinations, and among them, only 1 is correct. He began testing. He had already arranged the 24 combinations in his head, starting with 0137, then 0173, and so on, making sure not to repeat any combination. And after several tries, he finally found the right code. As soon as he entered 0137, he heard a chime. The door opened, but instead of an exit, there was only a wall. Sean stepped back, kicked the wall angrily, and said, "Where's the exit? This door leads to nothing." He began analyzing the situation again. There were only 2 doors. One led to the room where Mira was, and the other was blocked by a wall. He looked again at the arrow drawn on the closet door. The arrow pointed to the question mark inside the other closet in the second room. Sean then concluded that the solution to finding the exit might be inside the other closet. He went back to the second room and started moving the closet, and found a secret door. He told Mira that he had found another door hidden behind the closet, but Mira was hesitant. She feared something scary might appear, just like what had happened to Sean. Sean, with courage, opened the door himself and went inside. But what he saw was pure darkness. Suddenly, the door closed on its own. He called out to Mira, asking her to open the door, but no one heard him. No one answered. He turned around, and the lights came on. He found himself in a new room, or more like a creepy hallway, with a curtain showing a frightening face. Then he collapsed to his knees, hopeless, realizing the door wouldn't open. He came to terms with the fact that he would have to go on alone, without any help. So he began observing what was in front of him carefully, but he couldn't understand anything. He looked to his side and saw a locked box, a rope on the ground, and a picture. He examined the picture. It showed the shape of the rope, but he couldn't understand its meaning. Sean asked himself, "Am I supposed to pull the rope?" He gave it a try. The rope was heavy at first, but he kept pulling it with force. Then suddenly, it became light, so light that it slipped out of his hands and fell to the ground. Then it got pulled quickly inward. Sean let go of the rope and decided to try something else. He looked at the curtain in the corner and noticed it had a drawn face with sewn lips. He started approaching to see what was behind the curtain. As he moved forward, he noticed different colors on the floor: yellow, then orange, and finally red. Beyond the red zone, there was another section marked with a key symbol, and next to it, a boy and girl standing side by side. Sean lifted the curtain to see what was behind it. The moment he touched the curtain, it automatically opened completely. Then suddenly, hot steam began gushing strongly from the pipes. He looked forward, and here came the shock. What was in front of him was a mirror, but the scary part was that someone was staring directly at him. Sean froze in place, unable to move. The person staring at him through the mirror had an extremely frightening face, and while watching him, the man tilted his ear toward Sean, as if trying to listen to something. At that moment, Sean thought, "This guy can't see me, but he can hear me." Apparently, this was a one-way mirror, a reflective glass often used in police interrogation rooms. From the outside, you can see inside, but from the inside, you only see your own reflection. So, the terrifying man couldn't see Sean, but he could hear him. Once Sean figured that out, he held his breath, trying to stay silent so the man wouldn't hear him. But the steam was making a soft sound as it rose. That sound made the terrifying man turn his head toward the steam. Sean remembered the drawing on the curtain and understood that its meaning was not to speak. The image was telling him, "Opening your mouth means death, and that this creature doesn't need to see you to put you in danger. He just needs to hear you." Suddenly, the man turned and smiled, an evil, sinister smile. Then he walked away, disappearing from Sean's sight, as if preparing to do something. Sean approached the mirror and then saw another girl. She was tied up by the neck with a rope, trembling in fear. Sean started thinking, trying to connect the dots. Is this girl like me? Who is she? Why is she tied up? And where did the man go? He vanished suddenly. Is he the one responsible for this place? I have a really bad feeling about all of this. But first, I need to open the door, fast. He tried opening the door next to him, but it was locked tight. The hot steam was building up, filling the room more and more. He tried to reach toward the steam and extended his hand, only to realize it was extremely hot. He looked around the room for a key or any kind of exit. Then he remembered the previous drawing of the key on the ground. He reached his hand toward the hole in front of the key symbol, but found nothing there. Then he remembered the box and rope he saw near the door when he first came in, but the rising steam prevented him from going back. He couldn't even get close to it. Sean then turned to search for something else, and noticed that under the mirror there was a small cabinet. He quickly opened it, and inside he found a key. Above the key, inside the cabinet, there was a sign written in red with 3 dashes underneath. Sean tried to interpret what the sign meant. He thought to himself, does this sign mean the number of people who died in this stage? Did 3 people die here before me? How did they die? No, don't tell me it was because of the hot steam. Sean started to panic. The steam was now rising even higher. The water had reached the yellow zone. Sean quickly grabs the key and tries to open the door, but the key doesn't work. He thinks to himself, this key isn't for this door, so what does it open? He remembers the box again and realizes that this key belongs to it. So Sean must now go through the hot steam, risking his life. He takes a deep breath, covers his nose with his shirt, and with courage he charges into the steam zone. The temperature is unbearable, but he doesn't care anymore. There's no time to be afraid if he wants to survive. He finally reaches the box, climbs over it, and tries to unlock it, and indeed, it opens. He pulls something out of it without even looking, then quickly returns. What did he find inside the box? Just a bowl. Sean doesn't know what he's supposed to do with this object, but he's sure there's a reason. So far, everything he's found in this place has had a specific purpose. Nothing is random. The steam keeps intensifying, and the water reaches the orange zone. This shows us that the colors are indicators of the rising steam temperature, a sign of danger. So Sean tries to analyze the situation and concludes that the water level increases with the intensity of the steam. Therefore, he assumes that he needs to try to fill the final zone with water, specifically the one marked with the key symbol. That's the bowl's purpose. It will help him move the water. He fills the bowl with water, then pours it into the area where he suspects the key might be. He then uses the scissors in his pocket to search inside the hole for the key. Suddenly, he feels something like a keychain and thinks he needs more water. So he refills the bowl and pours it into the hole again. He tries once more to grab the key with the scissors, but no success. He starts getting more and more anxious. The steam is almost at his level. Suddenly, he spots something shiny at the top of the hole, and here's the surprise. The key had been hanging up there the entire time. He reaches for it, then once he pulls it out, he's shocked to find that it's attached next to a human eye. Sean shivers, but he rushes to the door holding the key. He tries to open the door, and yes, it opens. But behind the door, there's a strange person wearing a mask and holding a knife in their hand. Suddenly, the person attacks Sean, swinging the knife, and cuts his cheek slightly. Sean instinctively tries to escape, and just before the masked person can stab him, he suddenly falls. Then Sean notices that the person is tied with a rope. Seeing this, Sean breathes a sigh of relief and realizes this person is not the one he saw in the mirror earlier. He tries to talk to him or negotiate with him, but the masked person lunges at him again, and once again, Sean remembers the bowl. He quickly fills it with hot water and throws it at the person's face. He screams in pain and falls to the floor, holding his face. Sean takes the opportunity, rushes into the room quickly, and the little monster chases him. But he can't reach him because the rope is preventing him from moving forward. After trying again to speak to the person in front of him and trying to calm him down, Sean suddenly realizes he's just a child, and on his head there are stitches, as if experiments had been done on him. He looks around the room with his eyes and sees it filled with random objects. An arrow pointing toward a hole above. A person drawn on the front wall, as if calling for help. A picture of a dog split in half on one side wall. A fish split in half, drawn on the opposite wall. Two knives facing each other, each one placed on top of a cabinet. Sean doesn't understand anything again, but suddenly spots a closet in the back. He opens it and finds two jars. The first has a picture of a fish on it, and the second a picture of a dog. He opens the one with the fish drawing, and inside he finds a fish. He grabs it, then feels disgusted and drops it, but notices a small piece of paper stuck to it. He picks up the paper and opens it, and finds a sentence that says, "I ate 8 people max." He doesn't understand the meaning at first, but then he figures it might be the number of people in this place. Then he starts to remember how many people he's encountered so far. Mira, the strange man who can only be seen through the mirror, the girl tied with a rope, the masked child. That makes 5 people by his count, so there must be 3 more unknown individuals. He then opens the second jar, the one with the dog picture, and finds another note inside. It has 2 drawings, one of the meat inside the jar with the dog image, and another of the masked child, along with 5 words, one big at the top saying, "Remember," and 4 smaller ones below. Cow, meat, human, friend. After a few moments, Sean understands what the note means. If he gives the meat from the jar to the masked human, he'll become his friend. Sean looks at the child and begins to feel there's something wrong, something unsettling about this. Among all these thoughts, he glances at the knives, then at the walls with the drawings of the split fish and dog. I get it. I'm supposed to offer him half a fish and half a dog. So he places the fish and the meat on the knife, which we see is mounted in place. Then suddenly, Sean hears a metallic object fall from above to the floor. It's a new key. Sean picks it up and wonders what this key will open. He looks up and sees a ladder and also a door on the opposite side. But he wonders again. How will he get past the feral child standing in front of him? So he tries to come up with a plan and says to himself, I'll climb the cabinet first, then grab the lamp and then jump to the other side. And that's exactly what he does. He climbs just like he planned and makes it to the other side. He then tries to open the new door, but it doesn't open. Suddenly, the child charges toward him. Sean jumps upward quickly, dodging the attack, then notices there's a rope on the door he tried to open. He grabs the rope and pulls it, and then a lamp drops down. He shines the lamp through a hole in the door, revealing a completely new room. He tries to explore what's inside, but suddenly he sees a head on the ground, and there's also a timer in the room. But the timer on the wall is frozen, which means the stage in the room hasn't started yet. Sean turns off the flashlight, then backs away and starts observing the room he's in. Then he notices the stairs again, with a circular door at the top. He decides to go to the opposite side again to try the key on that door. And before the child notices him, Sean jumps and quickly runs toward the closet, then climbs it and finds a word written at the top, experiment. He then reaches the stairs and climbs up to the circular door, which doesn't have a keyhole. Sean tries to open it, but it's no use. Suddenly, he sees a small locked storage area in the corner. He tries the key, and it opens. Inside, he finds a metal rod. He grabs it with admiration and says to himself that it will be very useful. Then he remembers the arrow that pointed to the hole above and realizes he needs to insert the rod there to activate something. But he's furious. He didn't realize he'd have to cross the room again. However, to his surprise, the child who had tried to kill him earlier is now calmly sitting and eating. Yes, he's eating the chopped meat Sean gave him. The child looks scared of Sean. When Sean approached him a little, he flinched, thinking the food would be taken away. So now we know the child was just hungry. Sean takes advantage of the moment, passes by him without getting attacked, and climbs up to reach the hole, then inserts the metal rod. Suddenly, something activates. Then the massive metal cabinet with Sean on it begins to tilt and falls on the child after Sean jumps off it. Sean acted rationally, showing no emotion. Any other person might have helped the child, but Sean didn't. He feared being stabbed by the boy. Sean looks at the crushed child, then turns his back. Behind the cabinet, a new room is revealed, and inside it there's that strange man, the one Sean had seen earlier through the mirror. The scene shifts to the girl we saw earlier in the room with the creepy old man. She wakes up and finds herself chained by the neck, terrified and so scared she begins to cry, because she sees the terrifying man through the opening. Yes, the same man Sean had seen earlier in the mirror. She immediately puts her hand over her mouth, trying not to make a sound. But he already knows she's in the room. He turns toward the opening with an evil, sinister glare, and once he confirms she's awake, he rushes toward the room and kicks the door open, ready to attack, but suddenly stops, because we discover that his leg is chained, preventing him from reaching her. The girl relaxes for a moment, but then he reaches out and grabs the rope tied to her neck and begins to pull it with a terrifying expression on his face. The girl screams at him, "Please, let me live!" But the man doesn't listen to her desperate pleas. Just as he's about to attack, he hears something, and we see it's Sean. He's watching everything from behind the glass window of the room, and he realizes that this man is extremely dangerous. So he decides he has to kill him. Immediately, Sean grabs the metal rod and attacks the man through the opening, striking him hard in the stomach. But unfortunately, the strike wasn't fatal. It only injured him. The man then pulls the rod out of himself and from Sean's hand. Sean steps back, apologizing to him, saying, "I'm sorry." But the man is furious. He rushes toward the door of the room where Sean is. but Sean quickly slams the door shut. The man starts striking under the door with the rod, but Sean dodges the attacks. Suddenly, Sean notices the rope tied to the man's leg. He follows it and discovers it's connected to a button. Above that button, there's writing indicating that it controls the rope's length. Sean steps on the rope to disable the man, then runs quickly toward the button. The man is approaching fast, about to kill him, but suddenly, the rope begins to tighten. He can no longer reach Sean. The man is surprised to see Sean looking at him fearlessly. Then the man says to Sean, "You're not crazy, are you?" Suddenly, Sean looks at the man's leg, and it begins to snap from the force of the rope being pulled through the hole. The man screams in pain and drops the rod. Sean grabs it from the floor, stands in front of him, and as the man realizes Sean intends to kill him, he begins to beg him to stop, but Sean raises the metal rod and stabs him. Sean finishes him off and then goes to the girl to reassure her, saying, "Don't worry, you can relax now, it's over." But she's still trembling. She says in a frightened voice, "What happened to the other man? Is he dead?" Sean answers coldly, "Of course I killed him. Isn't that the rational choice?" The girl is shocked. She starts backing away, terrified of Sean and his cold attitude. Sean notices this and tries to calm her. He swears to her he won't hurt her and explains, "If I hadn't killed him, he would have killed both me and you. I'm a doctor. I've seen these kinds of things many times before." The girl starts to believe him and slowly calms down. Then he tells her it would be better to talk face to face, and begins looking for a way to enter her room. She tells him that the old man used to enter and exit the room using a card. He tells her he'll try to find it and come back to free her. He begins searching and notices a picture on the wall. He picks it up and finds yellow and red lights on the wall behind it, but he doesn't understand what it means, so he puts it in his pocket and starts searching the old man's body. Meanwhile, Heather asks him, "What is this place? I woke up and found myself chained here for days." Sean finds the card and replies, "So, you don't know anything about this escape room either?" The girl is surprised. He then tells her his name and starts recounting everything that happened to him up until he woke up here, unconscious. She also tells him her name. It's Heather, and she says she was on her way home when she blacked out and woke up in this place. Sean then opens the door using the card while Heather asks him, "You said this place is like an escape room. So, are we in a game? Something like the famous movie Saw?" Sean recognizes the reference and says, "You mean the movie where the characters have to cut off their legs and all that to survive? Well, at least in the movie, the puppet tells them why they're there and how to survive." Then he tries to remove the collar around her neck, but finds it's locked with a padlock. He grabs the scissors and tries to cut the rope, but it's no use. The rope is made of metal. Suddenly, after trying this, the rope around her neck starts pulling down slowly. Sean is shocked and realizes this is the same mechanism that killed the man earlier. He looks at the timer. It had read 3 meters, but now it shows 2.90 meters, and it's still going down. He tells her that if they don't find the key, the rope will shorten until it pulls her neck down into the hole and hangs her. Heather screams and faints from sheer terror. Sean tries shaking her hard to wake her up, but she doesn't respond. Then he makes a decision to slap her hard. But luckily, before he could do that, Heather regained consciousness, mumbling that she saw a key in the room. It was hanging on a nail. She pointed to it, and Sean rushed to grab it. He found it hanging on a nail just like she said, then tried it, but the lock wouldn't open because the key was too big for the keyhole. Heather began to panic and feel scared, telling Sean that the rope had reached 2.80 meters and was still being pulled down more and more. Sean tried to calm her, saying, "Don't worry, we'll find the right key." He then tried to find which lock the key would fit. He noticed a door on the other side marked with 12 dashes, indicating the number of people who died in this stage. He then remembered the previous room, where the number of people who died was only 3, but in this stage, it's 12, which means it's far more dangerous. He decided to try the key there, but again, it didn't work. Now Sean was confused. He didn't know what to do. He decided to go back to the room he was in before, hoping to find something. He checked the large metal cabinet and saw that the child was still there. Then he remembered the door with the flashlight. He tried the key there, and it worked, but he quickly realized that the previously frozen timer had begun counting. The room had activated, and the timer showed less than 20 minutes. The first thing that caught Sean's attention was the severed head on the floor. But suddenly, as he began entering, the head moved toward him, and Sean was shocked. It turns out it wasn't a severed head, but a man buried underground with only his head sticking out. And the man couldn't speak because of tape over his mouth. Sean tried to calm him down, telling him he would help him. But the problem was that the flashlight's wire was too short. Sean tried pulling it further. Suddenly, the light shut off, and the room went dark again. The wire had come loose from the flashlight. It was disconnected from its power source. Suddenly, the door Sean had entered through slammed shut. He realized it was a trap. He told Heather he had been locked in a timed room and was now trapped too. Then, from the hole he used to speak to Heather, he saw the disconnected wire. He grabbed it and plugged it back into the flashlight, then secured it into the hole to light up the room. He walked toward the man and removed the tape from his mouth. The man immediately began begging, shouting, "Please, save me. I'm tired. My head hurts. I've been like this for days. I can't take it anymore." Sean decided not to waste another second. He began trying to solve the room's puzzle. He noticed 2 arrows drawn in a circular pattern on the wall, as if hinting to spin something. Sean figured maybe he had to spin the man's head, so he tried turning it, but nothing happened. Then he started thinking again. Suddenly, he noticed a wire on the ground. Attached to it was a key. The man told him it might be the key to free him, but the moment Sean pulled the wire slightly, he heard the plug slide into a socket. Then the current surged through the wire he was holding. Sean was electrocuted violently and collapsed unconscious. The man tried to wake him. Time was running out. Less than 11 minutes remained. Above the timer, there were more numbers indicating voltage strength. The voltage was rising with time. Suddenly, Sean began to wake up. He saw that the plug had returned to its original place. Then he noticed the timer. It was halfway down. The man began screaming that something was cutting his fingers from below. Sean rushed toward him, trying to think of a solution. But the man's screaming kept distracting him. So Sean grabbed the tape and resealed the man's mouth. Then he searched the room for anything to help solve the puzzle. Suddenly, he saw a skeleton in the corner. It looked like a representation of the buried man. Then Sean noticed something inside the skeleton's mouth. It was a USB flash drive. He took it and plugged it into the television screen. He also turned the man's head toward the TV so they could watch together. A video appeared showing a child wearing a creepy smiling mask, holding a saw, cutting a fish while laughing maniacally, then tossing it into a pot as if cooking normally. Then the child spoke.
Ha 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 ha. I was enjoying that so much I lost my mind for a second. I guess it's time to give you your test now, right? Your behavior becomes valuable data for us. Now, show us your next decision.
After that, a surveillance camera video appeared. We saw a delivery truck on the screen. The buried man became visibly distressed as if he knew what was about to happen. Then we saw a man on a motorcycle. Suddenly, the truck driver hit the motorcyclist, sending him flying and crashing to the ground, but he didn't die. The truck driver checked if the motorcyclist was dead, but noticed he was still alive and got angry. Sean was shocked and realized the man buried next to him was the truck driver. Then the child reappeared on the screen, saying,
First, let's do a practical test. If you were in the same situation, you hit a delivery guy because you broke traffic laws. Then you realize the delivery guy is still alive. At that point, you must choose between 2 options. Option 1, go to prison for 1 year and pay $100,000 or more in compensation for the victim's serious injuries. Option 2, also go to prison for 1 year, but instead pay funeral expenses, which are much cheaper than injury compensation.
Sean replied, the rational choice would be option 1. But we saw the man smiling nervously as he said, yeah, killing him was a bit extreme, right? But what if I tried to be practical? Isn't the second option better? Same prison time, but less money. Sean replied, you're right, but option 2 may seem rational from your perspective. Wouldn't it be irrational from the delivery guy's point of view? The child on the screen continued,
Well, that was the experiment. Now let's see what the person who chose the second option did.
We then saw the man again, furious that the delivery guy was still alive. He drove the truck in reverse, intending to f him off once and for all. When Sean saw this, he was stunned. He looked over at the buried man and thought to himself, even the devil would hold his head in shock over what this person just did. The child continued on the screen.
Now here's the real question. Somewhere a person is hanging by the neck, and you can choose whether or not to save them. If you choose to save them, you'll face all kinds of hardships in the future. But if you choose to let them die, I've heard you'll receive many good things to help you later on. So, what will you choose? Note that this test is similar to the first one where you chose option 1. If you've made your decision, press the appropriate button on the screen.
And just like that, Sean finally understood the horrifying truth. Everyone brought to this place had committed a crime or a terrible act, and now they're being punished in their own way. Sean then thought about the girl, Heather. He started to doubt maybe she was a bad person too. Then he looked at the time. Less than 5 minutes remained. Suddenly, the buried man screamed in pain. His toes were being cut off by something below. He shouted that there was a saw underneath slicing through him. After calming down for a moment, he started yelling at Sean, cursing at him, begging him to save him, reminding him that Sean had earlier said saving someone was the rational choice. But Sean began arguing with himself. His evil side told him,
"This man deserves to die."
but even his good side agreed.
"This bastard deserves death."
Sean made up his mind. He stepped toward the television and pressed the button. The man asked him which option he had chosen. Sean replied, "Well, obviously, option 1. Isn't that the rational choice? Saving comes first, right? As for the hardships, I'll deal with them later." When the man heard that, his eyes began to tear up. He thought to himself, he is a righteous brat. Then Sean told the man, "Since I saved your life, you better cooperate. You should go to the victim's family later, or do something to atone for what you've done." The child started speaking again from the screen.
Wow, you actually saved him. Oh wow, that's insane. You're amazing. But unfortunately, no matter what you choose, we can't really save him anyway. So, good luck saving him yourself. But what a shame. I was going to give you this key if you'd picked option 2. But since you chose the hard path, I'll make sure you still get it.
As he said that, the screen displayed that the electricity would increase in intensity from 380 volts to 22,900 volts, an insanely dangerous amount. Before saying goodbye, the child told Sean,
I hid a certain device in the room.
Sean began thinking again. What should he do? Then suddenly the man screamed again, telling Sean that his leg was being cut off at the ankle. But Sean yelled back, "Shut up! Stop screaming and distracting me. Try to give me an idea instead. Tell me what to do." The man shouted back that Sean should try grabbing the key using his clothes. That way he wouldn't get electrocuted. But Sean replied, "Dude, I almost died just now, and you want me to play with electricity again? Look at the screen. Read that number carefully. It says the voltage is 22,900 volts. Do you know what that means?" The man whose ankle was being cut off screamed at Sean again, "You bastard. I bet you'll end up just like me if you don't do something to save me." Sean covered his mouth with his hand and replied, "Hey, I told you. I'm trying to save you, so shut up. Or do you want me to knock you out so you don't feel the pain?" Suddenly, the man's entire leg was severed, and he screamed in agony. Less than 2 minutes remained. As Sean thought about what to do, he suddenly heard something in the corner. A red liquid, like ketchup, was leaking from the skeleton. It spilled onto some device, which started sparking. Sean realized that danger was approaching. If the red fluid filled the room, it would electrocute them. Seeing time running out, Sean began remembering everything he'd seen in the room. Then he began searching and spotted a scale in the corner. It pointed to 30 kilograms. He also remembered the arrow drawn on the wall. He assumed he had to use his strength to lift something and rotate it. Then he approached the man, grabbed his hair, and began pulling, while twisting. Suddenly, the man's head was lifted, raising his body. Then he looked inside the cube where the man's head had been stuck, and strangely, A key fell out of it. Sean grabbed it quickly and looked at the timer. Only 12 seconds left. He finally solved the puzzle. He tried calling out to the man, but he didn't respond. That's when he realized the man was dead. Suddenly, the locked door opened automatically, and Sean exited the room. He rushed back to Heather's room. He found her dangerously close to the hole. The rope was being pulled down slowly, with only 60 centimeters left. Heather was crying with joy. She had thought Sean abandoned her, but he said, "Why would I abandon you? I was trying to—" She interrupted and thanked him for coming back to save her. Then he told her to skip the talk. They needed to focus on rescuing her. But the shock was, the new key didn't open the lock either. The correct key was with the masked child that Sean had spoken to earlier. Sean begins to lose hope. Time keeps passing, minute by minute, the rope pulling down centimeter by centimeter. Sean tells her the key doesn't fit the lock, but suddenly the timer switches from measuring rope length to showing the remaining minutes, and there are less than 5 minutes left. Seeing this, Heather accepts her reality. She holds Sean's hand and tells him just to stay with her. She doesn't want to die alone. Sean pulls his hand away and says, "What are you talking about? There's still time left. It's too early to give up." He reassures her and tells her he'll come back when only 1 minute is left. Then Sean starts searching frantically, trying to open anything, but nothing works. Suddenly, he notices something terrifying. The old man's corpse is gone. He starts wondering who could have moved the body. Then he sees a picture of the old man on the wall. After that, he returns to the room where the buried man's head was and finds that the head has been replaced by a doll's head. And next to it, there's a new drawing of a key symbol dash. The drawing is marked on a hidden door Sean hadn't noticed before. He searches for a keyhole and finds it above. He inserts his key and, sure enough, the door opens. He steps into a new room and sees words on the walls, some of which he had seen before. Then he notices a circular door on the floor. He tries to open it, but it won't budge. There are also fish scattered on the ground. Sean checks their mouths, hoping to find a key, but finds nothing. Sean begins to lose all hope. Finding this key feels like searching for a needle in a vast desert. He rushes back to Heather, looks at the time, and sees only 3 seconds remaining. He realizes Heather won't survive, but suddenly he notices Heather is still alive. She had temporarily saved herself by inserting Sean's metal rod into the chain attached to her collar, stopping the rope from pulling her toward the hole. She tells him to hurry and find a solution. The rod won't hold for long and will bend under the pressure. Sean runs off again, stressed, searching for the key, while Heather yells at him that she's thirsty. He then spots a water faucet next to her. Beneath it, the same picture of the boy and girl he had seen before. Heather yells again, asking why he's just standing there. Sean splashes water on her since there's no container, but after doing that, a new drawing appears on the ground beside her. He begins pouring more water in that area to reveal the image more clearly. It turns out to be a drawing of a key next to a nail, with an equal sign between them. Sean immediately understands the meaning. The nail is the key. He remembers the nail where the key had previously been hanging. He rushes to pull it out and finds its tip is shaped like a key. He tries it on the lock and it opens. Sean saved Heather at the very last second. She takes a deep breath of relief and hugs him tightly. But then Sean remembers what the masked figure said in the video. "Everyone brought here has done something horrible." Sean recalls the child's words on the screen, that every person in the escape room had done something awful in the past and was now being punished. With this in mind, Sean pushes Heather away, then asks her, "Have you ever been a terrible person in your life?" Heather is shocked by the question. He continues, "Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to insult you, but being in this place, I realize that everyone here has done something bad and is now being punished for it." Heather responds, "Aren't you also here?" Sean answers calmly, "But I wasn't tied up when I woke up. I was free while you were chained. That means you did something worse." Heather gets angry and yells at him, "Just because you saved me doesn't give you the right to insult me." Sean steps forward to retrieve his metal rod. Heather notices and says, "Wait, are you going to kill me?" Sean responds, "What? No, I don't hurt anyone unless I feel threatened by them." Then the two leave the room together. But suddenly, Heather screams at the top of her lungs. Sean panics from the scream and asks her what's wrong. Heather points fearfully toward a picture of the creepy old man on the wall. Sean tries to calm her down and explains, "Oh, it's just a picture. I killed him earlier, confirmed it. His body was here, but it disappeared mysteriously when I left to find the key to save you." Heather still isn't reassured. She insists that the thing she saw wasn't just a picture. Sean covers her eyes and tells her she has to get used to seeing things like this. This is only the beginning. He grabs her hair gently and tells her they have to leave fast. There's no time. They enter the room where the buried man's head was. Heather freezes in place and screams again. Sean snaps and shouts, "If you're going to scream every time you see something, I'll leave you behind and go alone." He then tries to explain that what she saw wasn't a real head, just a doll. He walks to the room he couldn't figure out before. The one with the scattered, unordered words, fish heads, and a whole fish next to them. He bends down to enter the door, but Heather suddenly surprises him by putting her hand in. Sean asks in confusion, "What are you doing? Are you harassing me?" She replies that she noticed something in his pocket. Then she pulls out some photos and papers and asks him about them. He tells her they're notes and photos he took from the rooms he visited and solved. Heather holds up the paper that says 1 Alpha, 8 people max, and asks what it means. Does it mean they are 8 in total? Sean replies that's what he concluded as well. They both look to the side and see 8 fish heads. They also notice 8 words written on the wall. Strangely, he only has 7 photos, so Heather assumes maybe they're missing one to make the total 8. Sean agrees, but Heather adds that there were also 8 rooms. Sean admits he hadn't thought of that, and maybe she's right. There were doors he couldn't open because he didn't have the right keys. They both agree to search again for more photos and keys. As soon as they leave the room with the doll's head, Sean notices the circular arrows drawn on the wall. He starts thinking again about what he's supposed to rotate or twist. Suddenly, Heather turns the screen on the wall, and 2 new words are revealed. Sean tells her he had also found 4 other words in different rooms. Heather asks him to take her to where he found the others. They begin leaving the room. While all this is happening, someone is watching them through the hole where the buried man's head used to be. Sean shows Heather where the word experiment was and tells her there's another word nearby, sacrifice. As they continue searching for the words, Sean suddenly notices the light bulbs on the wall. There were 8 of them as well, 4 yellow and 4 red. Sean concludes, "Oh, I see. The red ones mean the person is dead. The yellow ones mean they're still alive." He realizes there's still one unknown person left alive. By his count, there's himself, Heather, the wild child trapped under the cabinet, which means one person is still out there. Suddenly, Sean remembers something and decides to go back to the steam room, asking Heather to wait for him. He quickly crosses through the steam, which had become warm rather than hot. He heads straight toward the rope in the corner, the one he had pulled earlier but didn't understand why it was there. Sean starts pulling the rope again, but this time it's not as easy as before. Still, he doesn't give up. He keeps pulling until suddenly a red marker is lifted with the rope. Attached to it is a red tag, but he doesn't stop. He continues pulling. This time, an orange marker appears, and with it, a photo is attached. He keeps pulling until finally a yellow marker appears, and attached to it is a key. Suddenly, Heather screams and collapses to the floor. She's horrified by what she sees, a photo of a murdered girl. Sean instantly realizes what happened. When he had pulled the rope earlier, he had actually been lifting the body of a girl upward, and because nothing happened at the time and he didn't understand what it was, he let go of the rope, which caused the girl to fall back down and drown. She couldn't call for help. Her mouth had been sewn shut, just like the drawing on the curtain earlier, and the water level had been rising. So, without someone to save her, she drowned. Sean blames himself for the girl's death. She had been the 3rd person to die in that place, but there was nothing he could do now except move forward. Sean decides to keep searching for what the key opens. Suddenly, he remembers Mira, the girl he met at the beginning. He starts knocking on the door that had been locked earlier, calling out her name, but no one responds. Heather asks what's going on. Sean tells her about Mira and how he met her. As he thinks about what to do, Heather calls him over. She's found another word behind a curtain. Sean begins to understand something. Each person had been locked in their own special room, and in each room there was a different word. He asks Heather to follow him. They need to find what the key opens. Sean and Heather try using the key on several doors, until finally they find it. The key opens the door that had 12 dashes on it, representing the 12 people who had died in that stage. Sean decides to go in first and check. He discovers that what he's entered is an air vent filled with gas. Sean covers his nose and moves forward until he finds a window. He opens it and sees a new room filled with levers and, in the center, a painting of 2 red eyes inside a green frame. Sean can't take the gas any longer and rushes back to Heather, telling her everything he saw and about the gas inside. He decides to go back in and tells Heather to stay back. It's dangerous inside. Heather refuses. She tells him she's scared of being left alone, so they both enter together. Inside the air vent, Sean notices a button next to a timer. He turns it, and the timer begins to move. A loud flow of air follows, pushing the gas away from in front of them. Sean and Heather enter the room. Inside, they find dozens of small doors. On the ground, there are drawings of dead people in different positions. Sean realizes these must be the 12 people who had died in this room. They're the same ones represented by the 12 dashes on the entrance door. Suddenly, Sean sees a piece of paper on the floor. It says, "Do not open the doors marked with an X. If you ignore this warning, it will be dangerous for you." He begins inspecting the small doors. His eyes land on one door that's open with the word exit above it. But the problem is, it also has an X marked on it. Seeing this, he decides to open only the doors without an X, climbing higher and higher to reach more of them. While doing this, he opens a door that had also been sealed like the others, but this one had the letter P. He keeps climbing and opens another door with a drawing of a fork and a hanger. He opens another and finds the letter C. Finally, he reaches the door with the word exit written above it. Sean looks inside and is shocked by what he sees. There's a dead body inside. He assumes this person must have ignored the warning on the paper, and that's how they ended up like this. He concludes this is the 4th person to have died in this place. Then he remembers. He still hasn't seen Mira again. He guesses she must be the last survivor, and he's right. Mira is still alive, searching for a way out. We discover that she's the one who had locked Sean in the room earlier by shutting the door and blocking it with the cabinet. She continued searching until she found a key, then followed the ventilation passages to somewhere else. She begins thinking to herself. She knows there are places like this with 8 people and 8 rooms, each arranged differently. But this one's setup is different from what she knows. Even the rules are different. In the usual games, if you ignore a warning, you die. But Sean had ignored the warning not to free her, and he's still alive. That's when we realize Mira knows a lot about this game and about this place. We return to Sean as he discovers that he opened other doors, and they also had letters. And when Heather put them together, they formed the word escape, and she told Sean that. There were also other doors, one with eyes inside and another with a dead man's hand. Then Sean opened another door where he found a picture inside. It was a picture of the room they were currently in. But there was something different. The photo with the green frame turned out to be nothing more than an open door. Sean continued opening doors until he found a door with the letter I written on it. And when he opened it, he found a sentence, "Do not step." Then he jumps downward. Sean deduced that every door with an X leads to a different way to die, and that's why they found dead people inside the doors. And the word escape they collected from the other doors was just a warning for them to run before the 10 minutes ended, and the gas filled the room again, suffocating them to death. After that, he had no choice but to start opening the doors marked with X's, even if that meant putting them in danger. But when he randomly opens one under Heather's warnings, all the doors start falling on them, and what Sean had opened was the most dangerous door that could be opened. Sean runs and pulls Heather toward the center, where the only safe spot is. Then Heather scolds Sean for what he did, saying they almost died. Sean replies in confusion, saying, "I don't know, but I feel like I won't die. I also feel like I'm the main character here." Then Heather sees that the door with the question mark had fallen, and they discover that underneath it there was a door with an X, meaning it was a trap, and the door with the question mark was originally a door with an X. Then Sean notices two buttons facing each other, and it turns out they were behind the door with the exclamation mark. The problem was all the doors had fallen and he couldn't climb up. During that, Heather tells Sean she's going to check the remaining time, but Sean gets scared that she'll leave him like Mira did. And during this, someone is staring at Sean from above and seems to be inside one of the side doors. Suddenly, as Sean tries to climb upward, a hand grabs his leg, but Sean stabs the hand with his stick and it lets go. While wondering if the person who grabbed him was the fourth person still alive, he remembers Mira and assumes it was her who grabbed him. Then he starts yelling, "Mira, why are you doing this to me?" But when he sees who grabbed him, it wasn't Mira. It was a terrifying person. Before he could finish his thought, another hand with a fork attacked him from the door above. But it only scratched him. Then many hands come out of the doors, both from the sides and the front. Then we see the timer. It hits 0, and the gas starts leaking again. It seems Heather escaped and left Sean behind. And worse, she took the scissors that Sean had used to keep the door from closing on them. Poor Sean, who always ends up betrayed, starts thinking about what Heather did. And while he's thinking, the gas gets closer and closer. Suddenly, someone stabs him in the leg from the door below with a knife. Then we see that the person who was watching Sean from the upper side door was Mira. She had been observing his movements, but suddenly the gas reaches her too. Sean, in pain from the knife wound, begins to think quickly about what to do. He realizes the photo with the green frame is the door, but he doesn't know how to open it. Sean decides he must press the button somehow, but the gas is getting denser. Then he tries to reach the button. Not with his hand, but by throwing a door cover at it. But unfortunately, he misses. He tries again, but no success. Sean's hope begins to fade. He starts feeling suffocated, unable to breathe. Then, in panic, he tries calling out to the person who stabbed him, asking them to open the door. But it's no use. No one answers. Sean feels like he's sinking underwater and running out of air, but the difference is he can't come up for air. Then he motivates himself, urges himself not to be afraid, and to try pressing the button. Then, on the third try, he throws the door cover, and this time he still misses the button. He keeps trying again and again. Finally, he hits the button. It turns from red to green, and then the door opens, just like in the photo earlier. Suddenly, Heather comes in and tries to check on him, but his face, upon seeing her, shows anger. Then he grabs her hand and raises his metal stick, but not toward Heather. He aims at the door where the knife came from. He was trying to protect her from getting stabbed like he did. Then the gas chokes him and he collapses, but before he falls, Heather supports him and slowly returns the scissors to his pocket without him seeing. She starts speaking, saying, "This is terrible. You're not okay. I only left for a moment to see if there was anything I could do." Sean tells her he's fine, then asks her to go through the door together. As soon as he takes a step forward, Sean collapses, and Heather tells him to rest a little while she continues solving the puzzles. Suddenly, she sees a toy claw machine and is surprised by it. Meanwhile, Sean slightly wakes up and starts stabbing the doors with his stick to make sure no one is inside. Then Heather calls him to show him the machine and that there's a toys inside, and also an exclamation mark on the prize door. Heather opens it. Then another door opens in front of them, and they find themselves in a room full of ropes tied with fishing hooks. Here, we realize that the machine they saw earlier was a hint that they are the ones being hunted instead of toys. While Sean and Heather try to pass without getting caught by the hooks, Sean suddenly saves Heather as one of them was about to catch her. Sean tells Heather that they are being watched and someone is trying to eat them. Suddenly, Heather finds another machine, but this time what's inside isn't toys, it's chicks. Heather feels pity for the chicks and wonders about the cruelty of the people who put them here. But Sean tells her it's normal. She's surprised by his answer and asks if he doesn't feel sorry for the chicks. He tells her he does, and then says, "But isn't it true that a lot of people eat them normally?" Suddenly, Sean sees the exclamation mark again on the prize door of the machine and opens the door. Another door opens in front of them, and they enter a room that contains sharp spears this time instead of hooks. Sean stops Heather from moving forward, then extends his metal stick in front of him and waves it around to check if the path is safe. But suddenly, The spears fall to the ground. It was a trap meant to kill them. Then Sean and Heather try to move along the side cautiously to avoid the falling spears. Finally, they reach the third machine, and this time what's inside was fish. Heather asks him if they're supposed to fish the fish now with the spears. But Sean asks an unexpected question. But, Heather, don't you feel sorry for them? Heather is surprised, but Sean continues. Earlier you felt bad for the little chicks, but you seemed calm when you saw these fish. Heather tells him that she also feels sorry for the fish, as they're locked inside the machine and used for entertainment. Sean replies again, saying, but isn't it the same with people who fish all the time? They also do it for entertainment, just like what's happening here in this machine. To me, both things are the same. Heather starts to feel that Sean is acting strangely, as his answer was that it's about being trapped inside the machine without freedom. Sean tries to open the prize door in the machine, but it doesn't open like the previous ones. Also, this prize door didn't have an exclamation mark like before. Heather then notices the buttons on the machine and presses one. A spear drops and pierces a fish, shocking Heather. Suddenly, they hear a sound from inside the prize door. Sean bends again and searches inside. He finds the fish that was pierced, and with it, a paper and a key. He shows it to Heather, but realizes she's disgusted by the sight of the fish. He asks her what's wrong, and she tells him she's fine. She's used to seeing things like this. Sean asks, surprised, oh, yeah, isn't it similar to the fish cutting scenes in a fish market? But what if it was a small chick instead of that fish, and it was stabbed with a spear? But Heather tells him it's not the same. Fish are for eating and chicks. Heather doesn't finish her sentence and tells Sean to stop being weird. Sean is surprised by her calling him weird, as whether it's fish or chicks. They are both living beings, and killing them is cruel. Then he remembers what happened to him before in the lab. Childhood memories also begin to appear. We see Sean sitting, scared by the sight of a dead rabbit on the ground. Then he asks his friend Brian why he did that to the rabbit. His friend Brian replies while throwing the rabbit into the pot. Why did I do that to the rabbit? Don't you know that this is the meat we usually eat? That meat usually comes from animals killed by others, but I at least killed it after sedating it. So if you still think this is bad, and if you believe that killing for food is wrong, then you should be eating from corpses. And so Sean seems to have learned from his friend to the point he became emotionally cold. He was no longer normal like those who join labs, where they must experiment on animals they once played with and considered friends. Sean likely learned the lesson from his friend and saw that it was fine, since many do it in restaurants just for food. So he also felt it was fine to do the same for experiments that might save millions of people. To him, experimenting on a mouse, for example, was just as normal as killing a chicken to eat it. But Sean couldn't understand his colleagues who felt sorry for the mouse, yet enjoyed eating meat and relished it. And so Sean became seen as strange by all his colleagues just for killing a chicken, while they each ate at least one every day. That's why Sean tried talking to his therapist, whose name was John. After a while, John became close to him and was the only one who understood his thoughts, besides his friend Brian. He advised him to try connecting more with his colleagues and develop emotional intelligence toward them. Then he told him that dealing only with facts never works with people. He asked him to try showing logic and shocking his peers into changing the topic. And that's exactly what Sean did once, when his classmates asked him why he didn't feel sorry for the animals he experimented on. But this time, Sean answered them. Why do you feel bad only for the animals used in experiments? Have you ever watched fishing shows on TV? Don't the fishermen get excited when they catch a fish? Have you ever thought how horrifying it is for the fish? Do you pray before eating sashimi? Don't you think it's strange to empathize only with certain creatures? Of course, his classmates couldn't answer, except to say, this is for food, and that is for research. And the same happened with Heather. She didn't give any logical answer either. Sean then tells Heather that they should focus on the paper they found inside the fish, which was full of symbols, words, and numbers. From it, Sean understands that there are 8 clues, and inside each fish there is a clue. Also, if the fish is placed over the triple arrow rice symbol, they will be granted food. Then Sean says to Heather, "So Heather, since killing fish is normal to you, then why don't you try catching the remaining fish to find the rest of the clues? And since we can exchange them for food, let's pray for them later." Heather finally tells Sean that he's right. The fish are just like the chicks, so they shouldn't kill them just to find clues. Sean stood there like a fool, surprised, because that's not what he meant, quite the opposite. If killing fish is normal, then killing chicks should also be normal. Then Sean tried catching a fish, and he succeeded in doing that. It fell and he picked it up from the prize door. Inside, he found a paper with numbers and also the symbol 1 alpha, which they had found earlier. It also seemed similar to the names of the other escape rooms that Mira knew, as the other rooms were named differently: 1 beta, 1 gamma. Sean tells Heather, "I'm not sure, so what do you think about sacrificing more fish to find other clues?" She tells him maybe they should first search for what the key opens before doing that. Indeed, the two of them leave the room and go out through the photo door with the green frame, where they notice the gas had started to fade. Suddenly, Sean asks Heather, "Didn't we place the scissors in the door earlier? But now it's gone." Sean notices that there's a rope there now, which wasn't there before. Heather tells him that she already said before that she didn't know exactly what happened. She had gone to check the area to see if there was something she could do, and when she came back, she brought the rope with her. Sean is surprised and tells her that he really thought she had abandoned him, but she scolds him for thinking that way. But then she reflects that it's strange. Despite him believing she had left him, he didn't seem to care and continued solving the puzzles with her. Then Sean and Heather return to the place where they found the 8 lamps. Half of them are still red, the other half yellow. There was a door they were able to open with the key. They entered it stealthily and then found a room with a sentence written on the wall. "You are the..." But there was a missing word. There were 4 empty squares, indicating the word was 4 letters long. Below that was a screen and 3 digits, as if a password was needed. Sean tries to enter a random code made up of the 3 digits, but as expected, it was wrong. So they realized it would be impossible to guess, since the code was made up of 12 numbers. Suddenly, Sean remembers the paper he found inside the fish. It had 6 numbers made from the 3 digits, and he realized this paper might be related to the passcode. Then they spot a familiar symbol on the ground. It's the same one they found on the paper earlier. Heather also remembers seeing it in the room with the 8 fish heads. Then they go to that room to collect the photos from each room and arrange them based on the words on the wall. Sean pulls out all the pictures he had and starts trying to organize them. The first word was escape, and underneath it was sacrifice, so he matched each photo with the word they found in the same room, according to the wall's order. In the end, he got this configuration. When Sean examined it closely, he saw that the pictures spelled out a word, same, and it matched the fact that the word had 4 letters. So now the previous sentence was complete. "You are the same." Sean starts to doubt. This was the same phrase he used to say a lot in the past. He then concluded that maybe the person responsible for all this was someone he knew very well. Heather breaks his train of thought and tells him that same is letters and can't be typed into the passcode. Heather then thinks about the 6 numbers 001 to 222 they found inside the fish, and also the word same. Then suddenly, Heather screams like she found the answer. She tells Sean that maybe the code lies between the numbers 001 and 222. What strengthens this theory is that the numbers had a dash between them, meaning 001 alone and 222 alone. Sean continues the reasoning, telling her that they need to take the word same into account. So he tried dividing the 12-digit code into 4 parts, one for each letter of the word same, and he found that each letter corresponds to 3 digits. So letter S matches 3 numbers, and A, M, and E as well. Suddenly, Sean understood the whole thing. First, he calculated the number of possible combinations of 3-digit codes using only the digits 0, 1, and 2, and found that it was 27 possibilities, from 000 to 222. However, the paper earlier told them the codes were between 001 and 222. So, code 000 had to be excluded, leaving 26 possibilities. And 26 is the number of letters in the alphabet from A to Z, so he realized he must assign letters to the numbers from 001 to 222, from smallest to largest, meaning 001 gives him A and 222 gives him the last letter, Z. Now what remained was to find the corresponding numbers for the letters in the word same. S corresponds to 201, A to 001, and so on for the rest. Applying this, Sean tried typing in the final code he got. Suddenly, the screen displayed 1 alpha clear. Then a door on the floor opened, leading downward. They entered it while Sean expected this to be the final door, since they had solved all the puzzles. But in front of them was a wooden sign that read, "Out of Area 1 Alpha. Cannot be protected from outsiders." Reading that, they understood they had been inside Area IA, and now they were outside of it. It seemed there were other areas. Sean continues, saying maybe this area isn't the end. Perhaps there's still a long road ahead before they can escape this hell. They then see a path that looks like it leads elsewhere, but Sean gets nervous when he remembers the word outsiders, and he doesn't know who that refers to. Then they see a prison cell, and Sean discovers it's the basement level of the room where the person was buried with only his head showing. Heather sees a lot of red liquid and gets terrified, but Sean tells her it's just ketchup, though Heather doesn't believe him. He was indeed lying to comfort her, as it was obvious what the red liquid really was, especially with a chainsaw drenched in it nearby. Then Heather spots some signs to guide their way. There was one pointing to Area 3 and another to the reward zone after completing Area 1. The place they were currently in was the 1A passway. When they turned toward the place indicated by the Area 3 sign, they found a door with a timer above it. Less than 9 minutes left. Sean tries to open the door, but it won't open. He then tells Heather that maybe they should head to the reward area. Perhaps when the time runs out, the outsiders will come, and maybe they'll attack them. Afterward, they hurried toward the reward zone. But again, they encounter a prison cell, and Sean realizes it's the second floor of the room where he found Mira. They also found lower floors for the other rooms they had entered before, like the steam room. After searching a bit, they finally found the door that leads to the reward zone, but it was also locked with a timer above it, showing less than 2 minutes left, and next to it, a screen displaying "Tutorial incomplete." But when only 16 seconds remained, the door opened. They rushed inside. Inside, they found a screen displaying lots of text, but Sean focuses on the sentence saying that 5 people remained out of 8. He's surprised, as he expected there to be 4 survivors, not 5. Suddenly, a masked person appears on the screen and says, "Hello everyone, and welcome to the escape room. You've done a great job today dismantling the devices. You are now in the first sector, the learning sector, one of the 4 main sectors of the escape room. We, Frontier, took into consideration the traits of the people brought into Sector 1A, and hid 8 key words in each room, words that foreshadow or symbolize death. You are free to choose how many people you wish to save. However, you must pass through all 8 death scenarios to be able to move on to the next sector. In the end, 3 death scenarios were skipped. To compensate, you must witness the deaths of 3 animals instead, just so you know, and so we don't upset what is known as public opinion. We euthanize those animals humanely through electric shock first. We hope the ground meat we served you will help you survive. Oh, and we also left a souvenir at the entrance as a reward for the murder that occurred. So please check the newly opened room. Goodbye, then." Sean wonders why he wasn't counted among the survivors. Heather, Mira, and the wild child were all compensated for, but not him. He concludes it might be due to seeing the doll head in the closet of the room he's in. Now that they know they need to go to another room, they start moving. They find the door open, enter the room, and find a bunch of papers hanging and a sign in the center that reads, "Each clue relates to the reason why he or she was captured by a specific body part." Heather then wonders, upon seeing the photos, whether the USB contains the reason each person was brought to the escape room. Sean tells her that seems to be the case. In the room with the hanged man, where only his head was visible, it said the clue was in his mouth, and indeed they found a USB in the skeleton's mouth. As for Heather, her USB was in her neck collar. For Sean, it was inside a head, but not his own. It was the doll's head that had been in the closet. Coincidentally, they still had that head in the room, so Sean emptied it quickly and did find the USB. While trying to plug the USB into the TV, someone is sneaking up from behind, his feet chained. As soon as the TV turns on, the person behind them appears. They turn quickly and see a man with a terrifying face holding a running chainsaw. When the monster sees them, he charges directly toward them, but Sean also rushes forward and quickly slams the door shut on him. But the terrifying man has a chainsaw, and he begins trying to saw through the door. Meanwhile, as the man tries to enter, the TV is playing, and the image shows a man who appears to be Sean's therapist, repeating one sentence in a strange, creepy tone, as if he's hypnotized. "Sean, to escape, you have to do what they ask of you." The camera pulls back farther and farther from the therapist's face. We see someone holding his head, which had been cut off, while the head continues speaking eerily. Sean sees this and is shocked, but the next shock is even greater. The one holding the head was his friend Brian, who says to him, "Sean, you remember it, right?" Seeing this, Sean is paralyzed with fear from the massive shock that just hit him. He thinks to himself, "What the hell, Brian Kim? But you're dead." "I'm sure. I killed you." At that moment, the scary man breaks through the door with the chainsaw and slowly moves toward them. The monster-like man gets closer and closer, and Sean sees Heather standing still, frozen in fear. Sean turns toward the monster and immediately realizes that this creature wants to kill them, as if it had received specific orders to do so. But Sean notices something important. The monster is chained at the foot, meaning its movement is limited and it won't be able to run fast. Sean quickly tells Heather that the best way to escape is through low areas, especially near the wall. And at that moment, Sean lifts Heather and pushes her toward the monster like bait. The monster lunges at her, but Sean uses the moment. In a sudden move, he throws the scissors at the monster's face. But before Heather reaches the door to escape, the monster throws the scissors back, stabbing Sean in the back. Still, Sean endures the pain and grabs Heather's hand so they can run quickly. The monster screams in rage, desperate to kill Sean, but the chain on his leg keeps him from running. Sean runs with all his strength, but he's shocked when Heather collapses to the ground. He asks her, "What's wrong?" She answers with a trembling voice, "My legs won't hold me. The fear made me unable to stand." Sean turns around and sees the monster getting closer, about to strike Heather's legs. But at the last second, he jumps in and saves her, carries her, and keeps running without stopping. While running, he spots a room ahead with the phrase, "Tutorial complete," next to it. He hits the button, opens the door, and rushes in. But the problem, the room has no exit. He looks back and sees the monster standing at the door, watching them. Sean feels fear. The monster is still there, but it hasn't entered. Even though it wants to kill them, Sean understands. Maybe the monster is programmed not to enter this room. Then Sean presses a button next to the door, and it suddenly shuts. He exhales in relief, then approaches Heather angrily, pointing his iron rod at her and saying, "You're a much bigger burden than I thought." Heather trembles as Sean continues, "You want to die? I don't think you do. So pull yourself together. There's a limit to how much I can help others. If this happens again and you act the same way, I'll leave you. Whether you die or live, I won't care as long as I survive. You should do the same." Sean then notices a curtain in the room. When he lifts it, he discovers another room containing a picture of a person holding two knives with two alpha signs above his head. and a question mark on his stomach. There's a pillar at the entrance of the room with the word break written on it, and below it, 12 hours, meaning they'll stay here for 12 hours to rest without problems. Sean explores the rest of the room and finds a shower bathroom, some small glass rooms, and in the middle a metal rod connected to a button. When he presses it, he hears a sound and turns around, only to discover a food tray. He opens it and finds fish-flavored pancakes with a note saying, "Not poisoned." They sit together, eating and talking. Heather asks him what he was before coming to this place. Sean answers that he was a veterinary science college student. Heather tells him she was also a college student, majoring in culture and content. Sean says they were both living normal lives before coming to this strange place. But suddenly the mood shifts when Heather remembers what he did to her earlier. She told him his thinking wasn't normal, and it seems she's still upset that he pointed a weapon at her. He tries to calm her and says, "Do you know how to keep fish alive on a boat until they reach the port? It's by putting a shark with them. That way, even the fish that gave up on life will fight desperately to survive because of the predator." Sean asks her if she got the message, but it seems Heather didn't understand. The meaning was simple. She needs Sean, the jerk, the shark, to be harsh with her so she, the fish, can survive. Then they both lay down to sleep. Sean remembers the scenes he saw earlier and wonders, "I'm sure he died. So is he trying to get revenge on me for what I did? But how did he survive? Is he the one behind all this hell alone?" Right before he died, he shed tears, strangely. Why was that? Well, let's think about this later. Thinking works better when you're in danger. Sean decides to stop thinking and sleep. As for Heather, all she was thinking about was, "Yeah, boy." The girl was really scared, but suddenly she hears his loud snoring and is shocked at how he can sleep so deeply in their situation. Then she remembers all his strange previous behavior and gets angry because Sean is unpredictable and she won't be able to manipulate him easily. Sean keeps snoring, sleeping deeply. Then Heather remembers again how he saved her several times from certain death. She curses under her breath, approaches him, and hits him on the back of the head, then pretends to be asleep. Sean wakes up in pain and asks Heather if she hit him. She tells him she didn't. He yells at her, "Wow, I thought you were only good at escaping, but turns out you're a great liar too." Heather complains about how quickly he sleeps despite everything, but Sean tells her that thinking about it too much won't help them escape. So sleeping is what they should do now. Heather looked worried to Sean, so he told her to imagine herself in a calm place and fall asleep. A bell rings. The 12-hour timer is up, but what actually wakes Sean is not just the ringing. It's the sound of a chainsaw. The monster followed them after the time limit ended and started breaking down the door. Sean quickly wakes Heather, and they start running. Sean presses a button similar to the one that gave them food. Then they hear a door opening. Sean opens the door and enters, only to be shocked. In front of him are people in the room, staring at him. At the exact same time, in the room where the little boy is, we see someone standing in front of him under his confused gaze. Back to Sean. He sees 3 people sitting on the ground inside a cell. One of them asks Sean who they are. Sean replies that they were captured and brought here. The guy with orange hair says, "Yeah, we know that. You guys are from the other area. We're from Area 1 Gammon. And you guys, what area are you from?" Sean answers that they're from Area 1 Alpha. The guy with the glasses says they should explore the room to figure out what kind of room this is. Everyone starts collaborating and analyzing. They notice a wall filled with holes and 2 buttons, one on Sean's side and one on the side of the 3 others, and a timer shows 4 minutes and 30 seconds with the word "Parate" written on the wall, and on the other side the word "coup." The timer starts, and Heather is shocked by this. The others realize that this room has a countdown, meaning they'll die when the time runs out. Sean asks them if they can't see the timer. The guy with glasses tells him that they have a panel that says, "Area 2, Selection Box Practice." Sean is surprised that they are now in Area 2. Meanwhile, the orange-haired guy whispers something into the ear of the one with glasses, who then nods in agreement. Sean notices this and casually asks them why they're whispering about them. Heather steps in and starts speaking. I don't know what you guys think of us, and it's only natural that you're suspicious, but I ask everyone here to cooperate so we can get out. Right now, we're not a threat. The real threat is our mutual enemy, the person behind this escape room. And the words on the wall, if we combine them, they say cooperate. Heather puts on her kind face and continues, saying that even if they are competitors, they should work together to find a way to survive, all of them. We then see the orange-haired guy nod in agreement while looking toward the guy with glasses, who appears to be their leader. The latter begins asking questions, saying, "All right, since we have little time left, let's ask each other a few questions." Heather starts first and asks, I heard there are 8 people in our area, so are you guys 8 too? And are you the only 3 who survived? The guy with glasses responds, yes, we were 8 people, but there was a rule that only 6 could survive, so 6 of us made it through. But on our way here, there were insane people, like monsters, who captured 3, so only the 3 of us remain. Sean begins to analyze what the guy with glasses just said, wondering if each area has different rules. Also, among the 3 of them, there was an elderly, weak woman. Logically, she should have been the one caught by the monster-like crazies because she wouldn't be able to run. This makes Sean doubt the truth of what the guy with glasses said. This time, the orange-haired guy is the one to ask, are you 2 the only survivors? Sean replies, I don't think we had a rule like yours where only a specific number can survive. In the end, 4 of us made it, but 1 disappeared, and the monster boy. We left him behind. Sean asks if there were monster-like people in their area too, or maybe an area full of toilets. The orange-haired guy replies that there was nothing like that, but there was one weirdo. The guy with glasses continues, that weirdo wore a mask and carried a fake weapon. That's why I initially thought he was a monster too. Sean realizes that, after all, their 2 areas are pretty similar. Heather suddenly yells that the timer shows less than a minute left and turns to the old woman. It's her turn to ask a question. The elderly woman says there's no point in someone close to death asking questions. Everyone is surprised, but she continues, 3 people, no, 4 at best, will be able to survive. Everyone is even more shocked by her words. The guy with glasses asks Sean and Heather whether either of them is an original participant, meaning someone who was once in Area 2 or 3 and was left behind. Heather is stunned by the question and doesn't understand what he means. The guy with glasses explains, I heard that if you're left in a room from Area 2 onward, and you're lucky enough to survive, you can rejoin the games as an original participant starting from Area 1. As for me, I'm not an original participant, but the old woman told us that she is, although she says she can't tell us how the room mechanisms work because it would violate the rules. Suddenly, the ground shakes, the room activates. Numbers appear on a screen at the prison gate, and red illustrations of people appear on the floor, which, as we know, indicate the number of deaths. Sean realizes that some of those people are definitely going to die. The orange-haired guy sees a symbol but doesn't understand it. The old woman notices this and laughs slyly. Heather asks them what kind of image they're seeing in front of them. The guy with glasses tells them it's a drawing of a hand gripping a metal rod. Sean tells them their screen doesn't show a drawing. It shows the numbers 1, 7, 12, 17, and 23. The orange-haired guy shouts that he figured it out. They have to grab the rods in the order of those numbers. He asks how much time is left. Heather tells him there's no time showing on the timer. They then discuss how to hold the rods. Sean suggests it's better if only 3 people hold the rods rather than 5, to avoid any traps. The 3, Sean, the old woman, and the orange-haired guy, each grab a rod with both hands in the specified order. Suddenly, a red paper falls from the wall that has holes on both sides. Heather bends down to pick it up and sees that it has a drawing of a hand. The others find that it shows two open palms touching each other. Heather realizes that they need to touch the white hands drawn on the wall on both sides, but their own hands must be in contact in the same position. They discuss that only 4 people should do this, leaving one behind, someone who can rescue them if something happens, like electrocution. But the question is, who will be the one left out? The orange-haired guy says, "How about the 3 of us from our side do it, and one from your side joins in, and we leave that one person to protect us in case something happens?" Everyone agrees that Sean will be the one to protect them, so they start touching the hand drawings on the wall while holding each other's hands. Suddenly, after the orange-haired guy touches the hand, they hear a sound and a red light flashes above both doors, on Sean's side and the others. And both teams see the message appear on the panel. Brutal murder. Switch is on. The orange-haired guy runs toward the button, clearly to press it and kill the other team. Sean also runs to press it, seeing what's happening, but he's too late. The orange-haired guy beats him to it. And by the way, under each button, there was a diagram showing both rooms, from which we learn that pressing the button on the left activates the spears in the room on the right, and vice versa. That explains the deaths near the rods. This is how they learn that the game will end with one team being killed. But after the orange-haired guy presses the button, nothing happens. Not what they expected. Sean starts analyzing to himself. The screen says the murder button is on. Unless this means that this isn't the real button. The real one must be somewhere else. After saying that, Sean suddenly notices a spot in the corner near the rods. He pushes it with his rod and finds another button. The orange-haired guy is stunned. He realizes this is the real button, and that the ones above the room diagram were fake. Sean begins thinking to himself, pressing the button carelessly could be dangerous. He doesn't know if it will activate the spears on their side or on the other side. While he's deep in thought, the orange-haired guy presses the button and turns to the old woman, saying, "See what I told you, old lady? I'm going to survive no matter what." Suddenly, the sound of spears stabbing is heard. We then see Heather covering her mouth in horror at the sight in front of her. Sean is also shocked as we see that they were the ones who survived, while blood pours out from the opposite side. But someone else survived from the other side. It's the orange-haired guy. How did he survive? He hid in a spot the spears couldn't reach. We see him muttering nervously, "Damn it. Thinking about it, this doesn't seem fair. Based on what the old lady said, it was clear the spears were only meant to come from our side from the start." Sean realizes then that clues and hints might come from people themselves, not just the images and words on the wall. The orange-haired guy gets angry and threatens to kill Sean, thinking he's the one behind the game because he didn't die. But Sean raises his rod and threatens him. "How are you going to kill me when you're stuck in there? Do you want me to pull you out piece by piece so you can do it?" The orange-haired guy backs off and apologizes. Sean then takes Heather and walks away through the door. On the way, Heather asks Sean, "You said we need to think rationally to survive. So why did you try to save me and let the others die?" Sean stops and thinks for a moment, then replies, "Because you're someone I can save." But Sean really starts to wonder, why is he trying to save her specifically more than the others? He continues, saying he doesn't know the reason. He just wants to save her. Heather thanks him, and they continue walking, heading down a staircase where they find a door labeled with the number 2 and go inside. Sean thinks to himself and realizes that the area they were in before wasn't Area 2. It was just a training room for Area 2. They then enter the new room, and suddenly, the door slams shut behind them and red lights come on. The room they're in has 3 doors. One door has the word "Avoid" written on it. In the middle of the room is a sign that says, "Philosophy begins with seeing the familiar as if it was strange." Sean tries to avoid the "Avoid" door and attempts to open one of the remaining 2, but both are locked. Suddenly, he hears Heather scream. She opened one of the doors, and stupidly, it was the "Avoid" one. He rushes over and finds a crushed corpse behind it. Heather then notices a chain drawing below the sign, and also a lightning symbol on the ground. She realizes they need to send electricity through the chains somehow, So they hold each other's hands and each of them grabs a chain. Sure enough, they hear a ringing sound. The red lights above the 2 locked doors turn to green, and the doors open. They both enter a new room that looks similar to the one they were in before with the 3 others. The room is split in 2, with metal rods in the middle. The other side can be accessed through the second door. Sean realizes that each of them must go through a different door, which means entering separate rooms. Sean tells Heather they shouldn't be separated and tries to find a way to connect the chains through them. He tells her to grab one chain and hold onto his sleeve. He then uses his iron rod to touch the other chain, but nothing happens, and that confirms they have no choice but to split up. Heather tells Sean it's okay, and she walks into the other room through the second door. They try again, touching the chains and each other, and this time 2 doors open, one on Heather's side and one on Sean's side. Sean tells Heather they need to stick together, so he'll come to her room and enter the door that opened on her side. But when he tries to leave his room, the door is locked. Heather's door is locked too. They're now forced to separate. Thus, the stages of Area 2 begin, with the 2 of them separated against their will. The scene shifts to the outside world. A news anchor delivers breaking news.
Our next report, Mira Jiang, the granddaughter of SS Corporation's CEO, has been missing under mysterious circumstances for 2 months. Both law enforcement and private investigators are doing everything they can to find her. But due to the lack of evidence, they're having a hard time.
The scene then cuts to Sean's friends, those who used to work with him in the lab. They're chatting about an escape room experience, not the real one, but a fake version they enjoy together. One of them says to the girl beside him, "Didn't you say you're not scared of anything? Then why were you screaming in panic in there?" The girl snaps back, saying she wasn't scared, just surprised. But the guy laughs and replies, "Ha ha ha, sure, but I'm curious about how Sean the Psycho would react. Maybe he wouldn't react at all." As they say this, they realize they haven't seen him in a long time. They start discussing what he might be doing and why he disappeared, but no one really cared enough to look for him. Meanwhile, we see someone among the group holding a phone, secretly recording their conversation and sending it to someone else. The scene shifts to a streamer eating strange things to earn money. She receives a box of candy shaped like eyeballs. What's surprising is that it comes with a business card that says, Frontier Lab. The streamer is confused. She's never heard of a company by that name. She asks her viewers, and some of them reply saying they've heard of it before. Not from Candy, but from people who received USB sticks. We cut to one of those people, someone who received a USB stick. He plays it live for his followers. We see footage from inside the escape room, specifically from Area 1 Gamma. The viewers start reacting rapidly to the USB's contents. Then we see someone watching the video. He reads the comments while wearing a terrifying mask. He appears to be the owner of the escape room, the one responsible for the hell Sean is going through. He receives a message. Sean and Heather are safe. We then see other people behind him, also wearing masks. They ask him when they're starting. He tells them, "We'll start now." He enters a massive studio full of cameras, screens, and staff, and begins speaking to them.
"I think we're starting to gain some public recognition. We're not famous yet, but we need to prepare to face the public soon. Now, the participants from Area 1 have moved into Area 2. But the viewers think the puzzles are too confusing and hard to solve. So please adjust the difficulty so the audience doesn't lose interest. Also, make sure the content is PG-15. For example, let's pretend that this isn't blood, it's ketchup. And those aren't real eyeballs, they're fake. And those people, let's call them monsters. As for the severed heads, let's just say they're dummy heads. If anyone asks and says that's blood, just tell them it's ketchup. Deception is our main strategy, and it's the most important one. Keep that in mind."
The masked man finishes his speech, laughing to himself as he remembers what Sean told Heather earlier. That's not blood, it's ketchup. It seems the masked man stole that line. He then tells the others, Chapter 2 has begun, so make sure you follow the script at all times. Suddenly, we see the scenario papers. One of them says, "And Heather dies." We cut to a live camera feed of Sean. He's being filmed in real time. The The scene shows him screaming, calling out to Heather, who's approaching gears like the ones where they previously found a mutilated corpse. He yells to her, "Kill it! Now!" We see her holding a spear, pointing it downward, while Sean keeps screaming at her to hurry.